The midterm election just days away now, and both parties are fighting for control of Congress. Washington correspondent Alexander Lamone joining us now to discuss what each party needs to do and what their strategies are. Alex, welcome to the show. Start us off with the fight for the House of Representatives.
Well, let me start off with a number, 23. It's an important number because that's how many seats Democrats would need to gain in the House to take control of that chamber of Congress. Now, it's a big number, but Democrats say they have a strategy and they think they can do it. They're focusing their message on health care. They're going out and reminding voters that Republicans voted repeatedly to repeal the Affordable Care Act and therefore repeal things like protections for pre-existing conditions. Now, I've also talked to some Republican strategists and they say they have a plan too. Specifically, they're targeting voters who voted for President Donald Trump in 2016, and maybe those same voters hadn't voted in 10 or 15 years. They call them only Trump voters, and some Republican strategists believe that if they can get those people back out to the polls this midterms, then they can keep congressional districts around the country red. Now, many national polls out there show that Democrats, I should say, do have a shot at taking control of the House.
Let's turn our attention now to the Senate. Democrats there only need to gain 2 seats. So you take a look at that compared to 23 and you say that's their best shot, right?
You would think so. You would think gaining 2 seats would be easier, but turns out that's not the case. And it's pretty interesting because although there are some Republicans who are in danger of losing their seats in the Senate, take, for example, Senator Dean Heller in Nevada, even Republican strategists agree he is in a real trouble and he could lose his seat. The reality is that there are many more Democratic senators who are in pretty tight races. There are 10 Democrats who are in tight races in states that President Donald Trump won in 2016. So Democrats would need to keep all 10 of those seats and then gain 2 more. And the reality is that the numbers may not be there for them. Take, for example, Senator Heidi Heitkamp's race in North Dakota. She is down by more than 10 points in all of the polls that I've looked at, and I won't get into all of the details, but in the past few weeks her campaign has really started to unravel. So if she loses her seat, that's going to put Democrats in some real trouble. They're going to have a big challenge trying to take control of the Senate.
Yeah, it's going to be really fascinating to watch how this all plays out on election night. Alex, let's finish up with the Cavanaugh Effect. I was in Washington, D.C. during the heated hearings. I know you were there following it. We saw firsthand a very divisive and even hostile process. What impact is that having on the latest numbers as we take a look at the balance of power?
Well, look, I asked Republican and Democratic strategists about this, and they say yes, they both agree anger is a motivator for voters, and the Cavanaugh hearings could motivate some Democrats to go to the polls this midterm election. However, both sides kind of agree President Donald Trump incites more anger in Democrats than Cavanaugh directly does. So there's that. But then there's the issue of the courts overall. And I think both sides also have to agree that Republicans traditionally care more and place more of an emphasis on the federal courts than Democrats do. It's just a reality. So that's a motivator for Republicans too, because President Donald Trump has been appointing conservative judges to the federal courts at a record pace, and Republicans and conservatives want that to continue. So if you're gonna have the president's nominees appointed to the courts, you need Republican senators who are going to support that agenda.
All right. Appreciate your insight from the ground on Washington, D.C. for us. We'll be checking in with you again shortly. Thanks so much for your time. Utah's 4th Congressional District is one of the races that is being watched all across the country. We're going to take a closer look at that and other local races right after the break. Stay with us.